Today we're going to go visit the Rhine River, and we're going to go to a location where the old Rhine connects to the Rhine. There's another man-made canal that runs off this bank up here, and there's a NATO dock. And we are going to cover some of the hazards of working on the Rhine, and I'll give you some tips and everything. We will in the process, I actually discovered, I don't know if it's illegal or not, but it was a water pipe that was pushing sand and water from a processing plant off the old Rhine out into the Rhine through a plastic water pipe. And in the sand and everything was, well, you'll see it when we get there, when we get to that point in the video. So let's go visit the old Rhine and the Rhine. And right now the water is, this shows the water up, but you can see here where there is usually sandbars or sandbars back up north across from the NATO, and we'll have a look at all of that. Let's get going.
In the very beginning, I want to tell you, we're talking about test panning the Rhine, what to look for and so on. Where we end up, the last location on this video, if you are not familiar, if you are not experienced working on these rivers like the Rhine and so on with this kind of construction, do not even try to find this location. One, there's not enough there to make it worth risking your life. Two, there's not enough there to make it worth risking your gear. So for all you new people, please do not try to go to something like this, because you can lose your life or be severely injured in doing so. It's just not worth it. There's not enough gold here to make it worth your life. And we're at a confluence. If you watch video A1 on mini deltas, it will explain the reason that I like working in areas like this. Here we have a canal coming in from back here. Over there we have the old Rhine coming in, and then the new or the main Rhine coming out. Normally, if I'm working a stream or river, even if it's a natural one, depending upon the terrain, I will take a solid aluminum rod, or in this case, because of all the gravel, I would use a steel rod, and I would put that little sucker into the water so it's standing upright. And right at the water level, I would tie me a yellow ribbon or an orange ribbon. At this point, if I saw the water starting to rise above my ribbon, because it can start really slow and then suddenly, boom, it's all on you. As soon as I see that water starting to rise, I will pull my gear out. We've had people, they've lost gear. One person drowned. He was out. The water was really low. He was out on a bank. And by the time he tried to get his stuff in, we don't know if he slipped, fell, hit his head, whatever. But whatever reason, he didn't get out of the river before the water came up. And they found his body on downstream later on. So be aware when you work in these rivers and even streams where there's mountain ranges and stuff, you may not see anything. It may be crystal clear. 100 kilometers back downstream, upstream, back upstream, there may be a dam, or they may be getting a thunderstorm. And when all that water comes down and into that waterway, suddenly you're going to have a rise of water. So when I'm setting up gear, I always put all my gear and stuff well above the high water mark. And I only take to the water what is essential. Everything else stays above. So if I do have a rising water, I have very little gear to get out. I can get out of there And it's better to lose gear than to take and get yourself caught. Look at those riptides out there. And then you also have, when the boats come through, this is, as I said, this is a section of the Rhine. When the boats come through, they'll pull that water out toward them because of water displacement. And as they pass, the water comes back in, and you can get caught, and it'll pull you right out into that riptide, and you're actually under the water and gone. Because you can see the water moving, but if you look, there's swirls in there. And those swirls, all of those are little eddies and undercurrents. Like right over here, that undercurrent. And that thing, you get in there, you slip or whatever, it will pull you in, under, and you're not coming back up. Normally, this area out here, when the dams are not open, that area out through there is sandbanks. And that's where I would be working. However, they're not there because the water's up. And one reason I picked this location is I've got another river waterway coming through here. And what that does is when the water comes up, it'll come down and it'll spill into this area. Into this area here. And it creates a micro delta. So even though my water is real high over here, lots of fish. Lots of fishies. When you look back over here though, you see I have little micro deltas built up from the water flow where it swirls in this area. So even if I get here and the waters are real high, I've still got an area to work. As you see here, I have one waterway that comes in here. I have another waterway that's coming in over there, and these merge into the Rhine. And if you look out there, you'll see where during low water, that is all one massive micro delta. So, since we can't get out that way, and I can't get down into here, we're going to go back around. I got to cross the stream over here, and I want to get back over there to those banks. So let me get across. I'll have to walk up a little bit and cross the streams to get back down. Now, as you can see, the water is not too deep out there. But the dilemma is, if you come and you dig inside this area, you'll see these black lines. And when you look at the maps and do the Google Maps and so on, you'll see these black lines and you'll go, oh, black sand. That's not what this is. Right here, when this tributary comes in, it's not creating a big enough influx into here to bring the gold all the way inside past that point from over there about 5 meters in and back over to that point. And the reason for that is your gold's going to come in and it's going to wash. Here's where that other water comes in. See the water there? It's coming in off of a canal, and it's coming in off this river here. And then the Rhine, what it's going to do is it's going to want to build the gold right about 5 or 10 meters out that way, which I cannot get to today. This black stuff that you'll see on the map is not black sands. This is flotsam, plant particles and stuff that's washed up along the side. And now you'll see here comes the boat. Let's see if we're going to get a full, with the way that the river's running right now, as high as it is, we may not get a full wake. Normally when they come through, you'll see the water literally will pull back. And then when they pass, it will come back up, causing large waves. And this is where people, they're out in the water right here trying to work in the water. And the waves come up, it will hit your mats, it'll wash your mats out, flush your mats. It will drag you and pull you in. And it's just, you do not want to be in the water. You want to be working up on the shore at least 1 or 2 meters away from the water line with your high banker. There, you see, it's pulling it in. It's literally pulling all that water in. See here? The water was here. Now it's all the way down there as he passes. And that's out from here. Okay? And now once he goes, that water's going to rush back in. And instead of being down here on this bottom line here, you can see where the water was. It's going to come all the way up to here. And if you're within that margin, you are going to get wet, and/or your sluice, if it's low enough, it's going to get washed away. You really want to avoid that. See, now he's gone. And you can see the water now. It's going to start, it's no longer moving out. He literally was pulling water out of this river. Out. Okay? And now here comes the influx again. And as you see, it's already coming back up onto these banks. And mind you, I'm back in a cove. If I was out on that outside area, it would be twice as bad. To move back up on the rockway because the water's coming in so much. You see now, all of that's flooded. And then it will go back out and it will look nice and normal until the next boat comes in. And then it will grab you, and look how all that's stirred up. It'll pull that out, run it in, flush out your mats, wash your gear away, and try to sweep you out at the same time. Now, let's say you get to the river, and like today, you can't get out to the banks. You can still, what I do is I find where an inlet comes in, and all these rocks through here, these large rocks and stuff, will capture some gold for you. Now, the water is moving in that direction. But if you look here, you'll see the riptide is curling. And if you look, watch those bubbles right there. See how they're floating against the stream? Because it's causing a swirl in here. And when the water is high, it's dumping the gold into these, in between these rocks and so on. The problem is, when you're going through here, never use your hands. You can use your hands to move the rocks, but never dig your hands underneath the rocks to move or to scrape, because rivers are full of old metal, broken glass, old lost fish hooks, all sorts of things that you do not want your hands in there on. See a big piece of metal right out there. And so always use a shovel, use something to scoop it in, do not use your bare hands, and never go out there barefooted. Remember, all these rocks are covered in moss, they're slippery. You slip and fall, you could knock yourself out, break a limb, and wind up into the water, unable to get out, and drown. A person can drown in only about 5 centimeters of water. It doesn't take much. You literally could fall here, knock your head out, knock yourself out, and if your face fell into that little pile of water right there, you'd be drowned in a few minutes. Okay, and then they'd just find your body laying here when the water went down. So always be aware. Look at that. It's moving that against the current. See the water out there? It's moving that way, but it's moving that because it's bringing it back into here. These are the riptides I was talking about. These things they don't look like much, but the water underneath there may be moving 5, 10, 15 kilometers an hour underneath there. The swirls. And you get out there, you slip, and that sucker's gonna suck you out, pull you out through there, and then back out in, and you're gone. I cannot stress safety on the water enough. So let's do a little bit of panning right here. I moved this rock. I want to dig some of this out and see what we see. This is exactly what I was talking about. I was moving rocks, and that was underneath the rock. Fortunately, that one does not look broken, but if it was, If I had put my hand under that rock and that had been broken, you could wind up with some serious injuries. I'll throw this into the grass and pick that up on the way back later. Let's move on down and check the stones. Now I moved a little further upstream because I kept finding broken glass, light pieces of aluminum, and that was telling me the lighter stuff was still floating down and depositing, so I had to move upstream to find a more stable. And I had to get away from the water. Always be aware of what's coming up. These suckers are really quiet. They will sneak up on you. The noise that you hear is I am at a gravel processing. I can't go any further because it's blocked. They will not give me permission to go onto the site. But I picked this for a reason. I'll show you here in a minute once this passes. You can see there it's already pulled that water over a half a meter back from where it was. And it's going to pull even more back when it totally passes and the full water displacement is done. And then that's going to come right back up. And if you're down there on those slippery rocks, when that comes through, that could sweep your feet right out from under you. And then you may not get swept in, but you're going to take a hard bang and risk some serious injury on all those jagged rocks. So again, be aware of your surroundings. Watch where you're, see, I got another one coming in back there. I may not be able to get down here. Where I want to get is right down there. You see that? What's happening is they're washing this, and they've got a pipe that goes under. You can see the water flowing back over there. The pipe drains and pushes the water out right here. Now I can't go onto the property to pan for gold, but they're dumping me hopefully gold right through here. And so that's where I'd want to get down into. I'm not on their property. I'm not breaking any laws. And I can use their own water and everything that I don't have to get down. Look at that. That water is already almost a meter away. So let's get down here once this levels itself out and see what we can see. I want to see what's in that dispersal. I may not be able to get down there. With the water this high, I may not be able to get down there. Got too many boats coming through. There's the Tortuga pirate ship Métis. Now, I managed to get down here. You'll see it's pushing all of this down through here. All of this. And what's happening is I moved upstream. That one river that came in was the old Rhine. And there was a bleed-off overflow canal for the old Rhine. That was the third one, the smaller one. And where it comes into the Rhine. This place is higher upstream from where the old Rhine and the Rhine connect. And back in here, about a quarter of a mile away from the river, they're digging about 20-25 meters down to get all that gravel and sand from the old Rhine deposits. And when they do that, when they wash it, it washes the real fine gold back into the Rhine. But what I'm looking at here is very favorable. This means when the water is low, I'll have a sandbar right there, and that will be loaded with gold. So when the water goes down, I'm definitely going to come back to this spot. Another thing that I can do, if you look right there, you just see all the black sand. Okay? The rocks and so on make it hard getting to. However, let me go up here. I want to check something. Now I've moved to the other side of the off-flow. And as you see, I'm getting a good pile up right through here. So I could, using my legs, set my sluice up right there and let the water wash it and just dig this stuff out and just move it right onto the sluice. And all this coming through here would get natural. I wouldn't have to be dealing with all this water down here back into the river. I wouldn't have to deal with the boats. But again, they may not be deep enough for gold-bearing sand. They may be, because I don't know how long this company's been here, they may have already dredged past that 15, 25 meter mark, past the Ice Age stuff, and not even be in anything. So I'm going to have to do a couple of test pans right in this area to see if it's worth me coming back. See how that gravel piles up? That's going to catch that gold. So let me do a test pan here. Alright, these rocks are really dangerous. I've almost fell twice. But mind you, I have a bad leg and hip also. However, I now, normally on the Rhine, most of your alluvial gold, alluvial with an A, that comes down the Rhine is coming out of like Switzerland, France, the Alp Mountains and so on. And I couldn't figure out why a few miles upstream, in one place that I was testing, I had hardly any gold at all. And the place that I was at, back down that way, about a quarter of a mile, had a lot more gold, almost twice as much. I couldn't figure out why I was getting something right there. Now I know. This stuff is washing out, and then the river is taking it down to that sandbank. So once the water goes down here, instead of going to the sandbank, I'm going to come to the source, and I'll be working this area. So once again, it's just a matter of working back and forth. This is only the third time I've been here. I checked the one down on the one. I went down to where the old Rhine and the new Rhine meet and tested that at that handmade canal as well, where we were at in the beginning. And I was thinking maybe that when they dug that and put that boat ramp and stuff in there, that NATO ramp, they had dug a bunch of stuff up and it simply sat there deposited over time. But that does not seem to be the case. Let's do this test pan. I dug some stuff out from in here where this gravel was. You see it all over there. All of this I'm just about banking is gold bearing. Because if I have no gold back that way, I've got gold down there, and I've got this pit distributing this water flow into here. I just about bet this is where my gold source is coming from. So let's give this a test. Now this is starting to look good. I've got large chunks of heavy iron ore. I found bits of pyrite, iron ore. I'm getting down to my base pan. It's a bit hard to try to pan right here. This water is so fast, I don't want it to wash everything out of the pan. But it's so slippery, I can't get down there with these boats passing. It's too dangerous. So it's taking me a bit longer than normal to do a test pan. But I'll get back with you in a minute. Yeah, this is definitely where that gold source is coming from. It's really, really fine stuff, but you see, that's from one little garden shovel, not a big shovel, a little hand shovel. Look at that. All of that's gold. And that means right there at the base where all those rocks are stopping it, once this water goes down, you can guarantee I'm coming back to this spot. Because all of that, there's about 50 or so pieces, and that's just, let me zoom out here. And that's just from that, just a shovel of that. So this area down through here is where my deposit is further down. So I have to, where I was originally thinking at the influx of the old Rhine and the new Rhine, is where I would find my gold. By actually test panning and moving up and down the stream, I actually found the source of where my gold was coming from. This is why, once you've done your research, I went to 2 other places today before this, and there was nothing. 2 other streams, nothing. However, here, even though I'm not at the location where I intended to be, I actually found my gold source. I hope this has been of some help to you, and that you've learned something from it, because I sure as heck have today. I found me a new prime gold lode. I normally don't find that much gold on the Rhine in a little shovelful like that.